Hello, Star Wars fans. Today is going to be my breakdown and reaction to Ahsoka Episode 4. And man, what an episode it was. Has to be some of the best, if not the best Star Wars content I've seen in a long time. Now, there will be spoilers, so make sure you've seen the episode first. But assuming you have, let's dive right in and see what we can find out. Also, I am running now a new contest for September. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a comment, and the randomly chosen winner will be announced in early October. And we'll get to choose from one of these 3 books, or, of course, Star Wars timelines. And in case you only watch my Star Wars content and not the MCU, then I will mention that the winner of the August contest was Theory Crafting Machine. So thank you for that nice, meaty comment there. And Theory Crafting Machine, you can reach out to me on my About page, either by my email or by my Discord, and we'll get you your prize. For everybody else, best of luck in the September contest. All right, one of the things I really like about Ahsoka's show is I think Filoni was basically told, don't make people have to have watched Rebels and Clone Wars. I've had a lot of people say, in fact, they didn't watch those and they're still enjoying the show. However, if you did watch them, there are some fun little Easter eggs. And this was an interesting one where they're referred to as Fulcrum. And Fulcrum was a code name from Rebels that Ahsoka went by. Because the first season, actually, we didn't even know Ahsoka was in it. She was only referred to mysteriously as Fulcrum. So just a fun little wink and a nod back to Rebels. Very cool. All right. Man, do we ever see this division between Ahsoka and Sabine crystal clear in this episode. I mean, we've seen it through episodes 1 through 3 forming, but wow, they are not on the same page. So Ahsoka's basically saying to Sabine, hey, if we can't make the journey to find Ezra, then no one should. So essentially, if we can't get to the map, we cannot let them have it. And she says, because that's better than allowing Thrawn's return as, heir to the Empire. That's the big name drop, right? Anybody who's read some of the novels is going, oh, I know what that is. I know what that is, right? So Heir to the Empire was an amazing 3-part series written by Timothy Zahn way back in 1991. So basically, after the original trilogy finished, this was a novel telling who was the heir to the Empire, right? The successor to the Empire, and it was Thrawn and his army. So it's a loose adaptation. Obviously, Ahsoka is a loose adaptation of these, but nonetheless, very nice wink and a nod to all the great work done by Timothy Zahn on this series. Okay, so here is a promise that was definitely not kept, right? Ahsoka says to Sabine, so can I count on you? You know, again, to destroy the map. If we can't get it and use it, we can't let them. Well, Sabine kind of pauses and says, you know you can. You can see by her face, it's saying, you know you can't. And we will see that this is not a promise she plans on keeping. Wild. All right, it's kind of interesting to see Huyang getting in some boxing practice. I didn't know what type of combat style he would use. I didn't expect Rock'em Sock'em Robot, but that's fine. It was really cool. It was fun to see. Probably what surprised me the most, though, was when the droid puts his hand on his mouth and he can't speak. You know, he can't get any noise out. I mean, I get that they're meant to be humanoid in function, but still, that's the only place that he can make noise. It was kind of funny. But nonetheless, it's all good. So he does eventually, though, alert Ahsoka and Sabine, and they come out and get into battle. And, you know, Sabine is realizing she's not that great with a lightsaber yet, but hey, she has some good Mandalorian weapons. Boom. Love it. Really nice to see some Mandalorian action. Also, her armor, we're reminded, is able to stop blaster fire, so great protection. And then honestly, I'll just never grow tired of this move. Every time a Mandalorian does this, I'm in love. And of course, Sabine then pulls the droid directly into Ahsoka, who dispatches it. So yeah, we see that they make a very good team. And the more they're together, the better. And Huyang agrees. Wiser words have not been said. Stay together. You always did better that way, in my opinion. Unfortunately, they do not stay together long. So, speaking of battles, now suddenly Marrok and Shin have come to take on both Ahsoka and Sabine. And we see, boy, we learn the secret of Marrok, don't we? Maybe some disappointment for some. But anyway, so he turns on his Inquisitor spinning lightsaber dealio, which I love. But Ahsoka just patiently waits until he passes by and does one strike, boom, and takes care of him. So we do finally learn a little bit more right? So first, I want to show this. This is really cool. This perspective shot of the fight. We rarely see this, right? When there's multiple things going on, often we're just focused on one fight or the other. This shows us, simultaneously what's happening. But yeah, then we see who exactly is Marrok? Well, not Ezra, that's for sure. Not Starkiller, that's for sure. A smoke? What is going on, right? What is going on? Well, they don't tell us yet, but there's some theories that make a lot of sense. The smoke looks kind of green. It's kind of hard to tell, but it seems green. And of course, Morgan Elsbeth's Night Witch magic is green. So seemingly, she has reincarnated the spirits, at least, of dead Inquisitors and is using them as her army. Okay, I think a lot of people probably feel a little Mephisto'd. For those that watch the Marvel content, you know what that means. That's it. That's all it is. But you know what, though? We actually had some big hints towards this. If you watched Tales of the Jedi, which if you haven't, I really recommend it. They're short. There's only 6 episodes. They're really good. But the 6th episode actually had an Inquisitor that fought Ahsoka, and when Ahsoka, notice the double lightsaber there, when Ahsoka defeated him, she beheaded him, and when his head was laying on the ground, his mask, seemingly his head, noticed the green smoke coming out, and it completely deflated. I remember at the time, I was like, what just happened? Were we supposed to understand this? Yes, I think we were eventually supposed to. Not at the time, and still not in this episode of Ahsoka, but it's going to all get explained, I suspect. But it looks like the Night Witches, and particularly Morgan, are reanimating these Inquisitors. And by the way, from a timeline standpoint, Tales of the Jedi is right before the Rebels series, right before, this scene at least, is right before Ahsoka joins Rebels. So about 15 years before the actual Ahsoka series. And we'll talk more about this at the end when we look at timelines. But I just wanted you to see this isn't the first time an Inquisitor has ended up being, nothing but smoke. So very interesting. All right, hey, we were confused, but look, Shin was even confused, right? Look at that face. She's like, what is going on? We're all saying that, Shin. Believe me, we're all saying that as our theories went up in smoke. Anyway, this fight continues on, but Ahsoka takes off to go confront Baylan. So this was a really good fight. I really enjoyed it. I like this shot of Sabine's helmet there on the left as their fight's going on because her helmet gets knocked off. And then, okay, tell me in the comments if somebody remembers a move like this before ever in Star Wars. This is the first time I can remember where literally people with lightsabers in a lightsaber duel take the time to notice Shin's arm is reeling back and boom, to cold cock somebody. I mean, just literally punched her in the face. I did not see that coming. That was great. I'm not saying like I liked seeing Sabine punched in the face. I mean, just using physical combat like that in the middle of a lightsaber duel? Wow. Normally it's force moves, but not a fist move. Craziness. So that knocks Sabine's lightsaber out of her hand because she didn't expect it any more than I did. So then she has to defend herself with her Beskar armor, once again, showing that not only can it stop blaster fire, but it can stop sabers. And then I love this. Is she able to use the Force? Well, we're going to find out, right? And no, it was an epic fail, to which Shin just basically taunts her, you have no power. Well, okay, I may not have Force power, but I still got these. So she blasts Shin, that's epic, and Shin takes off. So, okay, where did Ahsoka go to, right? Well, now we're going to pick up on that in just a second, but I want to say a couple things about Baylan. I love that Baylan has the coolest comebacks. Man, R.I.P. Ray Stevenson. I wish you had been around to see this amazing performance. So here's a couple examples. Morgan says, is that a note of fear I hear in your voice? And he says, experience. I love that. Later she says, have faith. And he says, faith? I lost that a long time ago. He's just so cool. He's just so cool. He has an answer for everything. I love it. But anyway, to Ahsoka, who now approaches him, we learn that Baylan is also a very good manipulator. And I mean, it's pretty clear. He does not want to fight unless he has to. He doesn't want to kill unless he has to. His words are his biggest weapon. So I love that as soon as Ahsoka shows up, he says, Anakin spoke highly of you. And she says, well, he never mentioned you. And Baylan says, few would live to see what he became. Surely that must leave a mark. Is that why you walked away from him? Abandoned him? I mean, ouch. basically trying to make her feel guilty for leaving Anakin, which I'm sure she does feel very guilty, by the way. But wow, that's pretty powerful. So then another great comeback, right? When she draws her lightsaber, he just says, how inevitable. Like he doesn't want to fight, but he knew it was going to come to that. Love it. So yeah, he may not like to use his lightsaber, but boy, does he have a big one. Good night. That thing is monstrous. I mean, he's really tall and formidable. And then you throw in that lightsaber. Wow. Craziness. So then he really drops the hammer on Ahsoka. Your legacy, like your master's, is one of death and destruction. We do learn a little bit more about what that meant, by the way, later in the episode. And so Baylan knows a lot about Ahsoka, a lot about Anakin. Very interesting. He knows a lot about a lot. So love his character. Again, such a tragic loss of Ray Stevenson. Okay, so this is interesting. When Ahsoka finally gets a break to be able to get over to the map and she picks it up, it burns. The witch's magic, the flame, burns. And I have to wonder, is this going to be another Raiders of the Lost Ark moment where they're able to figure out at least enough of the map due to that burn in her hand? We'll see. I mean, keep in mind, Raiders of the Lost Ark is Lucasfilm and Disney, so it's all in the same family if they're kind of stealing that scene. But this also, though, damages her hand enough that she's now not able to be, the formidable combatant she normally is, and so Baylan dispatches of her. Oof. Throws her off the cliff, basically, or knocks her off the cliff. Ouch. That's right around the same time Sabine shows up. So now we once again get back to this manipulation. He says to Sabine, your family died on Mandalore because your master didn't trust you. Okay, wow, there is so much to unpack here. So this might be some of the death and destruction that Ahsoka has caused when Baylan taunted her with that. But also, boy, did we miss a lot of their time together. I mean, apparently, it looks like Ahsoka came back to work with Sabine to try to train her and maybe told her not to go to rescue her parents. Maybe Ahsoka knew there was going to be that the destruction on Mandalore, which, of course, we saw in Mando Season 3, where it was scorched. The Night of 1,000 Tears. So what's going on? Because now that's got to be some of the reasons Sabine's mad. Her family was killed, and seemingly it was because Ahsoka wouldn't let her go try to rescue them. I don't know. But bottom line is this: we need some flashbacks fast. Now I'm sure we're going to get them. Filoni wouldn't leave all this a mystery. I'm sure it's going to be unpacked. But wow, there is a lot that has happened that we don't know about. Anyway. Then, where he really gets to his manipulation is he's basically saying, if you give me the map, you can be reunited with your long-lost friend, Ezra. So, yeah, he's really, really good at it. Then, boy, he utters the words, right? Do it. Do it. But he doesn't quite say it like that. He says it much calmer and follows it by, for Ezra. You can't resist that face, right? You can't resist that charm and persuasion. I mean, he's so good with words. This doesn't even end in a fight. It ends in him convincing her to hand over the map. Wow. To go back on her promise that she made to Ahsoka, all because, she wants to be reunited with Ezra. Wild. Well, as soon as she gives up the map then, Shin finally arrives and uses a force choke on her. But once again, showing he is such a man of honor, he says, Shin, release her. I gave my word, and unlike her former master, I shall keep mine. Man, he's just digging the knife into that relationship between Ahsoka and Sabine. Remember in the last breakdown where I mentioned that Sabine's mask was shown as red? Is Sabine going to make a turn to the dark side? Is she going to use the Force, but the dark side of the Force? I don't know. I mean, maybe that meant nothing because Marrok's was blue and he's a bad guy. So who knows? But this is just very interesting. Certainly, Baylan is pushing Sabine farther and farther away from Ahsoka. Wow. Then, man, we better hope Ahsoka's burnt hand can help because this map is toast. It is toast. As he says, no one will be following us. Yikes. So who might this no one be? Who might try to follow? Well, a little earlier in the episode, we did see that Hera has decided to defy orders and is going to get on the Ghost and go try to help. I love that, right? That's the Ghost ship finally in live action. Of course, we saw it in Rebels. That's the same ship that they flew around in Rebels. But actually, it's technically not the first time it's been in live action. It was actually in Rogue One the movie Rogue One. You can see it in the upper left-hand corner there. So pretty cool. So, I mean, this is the first time we've really seen it in major action, in live action. But it has appeared in Rogue One. So very cool. And then this scene is neat. If this looks familiar, at least to Rebels fans, it should, because the three of them together looks very much like the last season there of Rebels. So yeah, very cool. Only Filoni can honor his stuff so well and so subtly. But man, I don't think Hera's going to win Mom of the Year award. Someone's going to call Child Protective Services on her for bringing her kid into these dangerous situations. Speaking of dangerous, oh my, this one's going to get bad. But first, at least she didn't go alone, right? Because she brought along Captain Carson Teva, who we've seen in Mandalorian several episodes, and she brought along some others who basically were red shirts and all died. But nonetheless, this raises a great question. Is Carson Teva's appearance in this episode before or after his appearance in Mando Season 3? Because it really feels like it's after. It really feels like it took Carson Teva to see what he saw throughout Mandalorian Season 3, where the Empire was, not quite so gone, and there were real issues, for him to be willing to defy orders with Ahsoka. So let me know your opinion. I just don't have a good feel for where Ahsoka fits in the timeline for sure. Whether it's before Mando Season 2 and her appearance there, whether it's before Mando Season 3 and Carson Teva's appearance, or whether it's after Mando Season 3. So anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. Hopefully they're going to give us an official answer before long. All right, so anyway, man, get ready to see some destruction because, yes, Hera and Carson and the others show up right when Morgan, Elsbeth, and everybody else decides to use that jump gate, and they don't care whether anybody's in the way. They don't care one bit. Man, the special effects were insane. I know where they used their budget in this series, and it was well spent. Just looked incredible. And the destruction, oh my goodness, you can see them caught in the wave there. And this isn't going to end well, right? Those two TIE fighters, yeah, wow, not good, not good. And then a couple others get destroyed as well. Man, oh man, oh man. I think Hera can go back to that council, the senators and Mon Mothma, and say, I was right. We have a problem. We have a big problem. But yeah, so we'll see what happens next with them. In the meantime, though, you got the saying, right? Somebody finally said it. Jason says, I've got a bad feeling. Now, typically it's, I've got a bad feeling about this. That's what, we hear in so many different iterations of Star Wars. But I'm going to say this is good enough. So yes, it gets this meme. He said it. He said the thing. I love that Family Guy meme. So yeah, we'll see whether they give us the full phrase. I have a bad feeling about this. But for now, Jason gets the win. Jason gets the win. All right, so what happened to Ahsoka, right? Well, they show us this shot where we see just how far she fell. I can see why that would kill somebody. I mean, maybe she was able to cushion her fall, but yeah, I don't know. That doesn't look good. But I love this transition from the water to where she's laying, and you can see it looks like water around her, and it's actually not. She is somewhere very strange, right? Now, for fans of Rebels, you would immediately be saying, well, this looks like the world between worlds. Obviously, if you haven't seen Rebels, you're going, I don't know where she is. And honestly, I don't think Filoni expects you to know, quote unquote, where she is. I suspect in the next episode, he's going to give us a full explanation because he's done a great job of that. So if you haven't watched Rebels, don't feel like you've missed out. I think he's going to explain it. But I will talk just briefly about World Between Worlds because I think that is where she is. It's hard to say for sure. But I mean, look at this imagery. In particular, look at her feet as she walks. It makes the little puddles on the path. And then this is what the World Between Worlds looked like in the Rebel series. Notice it's those same paths through space, and their feet are making like kind of puddles in them that disappear. So yeah, see how similar they are? Now, why they went blue, though, is interesting. That's why I think this isn't necessarily the World Between Worlds, but maybe a near-death experience she's having where she's, the near-death experience is making her relive her time in the World Between Worlds. But I don't know. It feels like he would have made it look exactly the same if that was the intent. So we'll see. Let me know in the comments. Do you think she's actually in the World Between Worlds, or is she having some type of near-death experience? Okay, so what is this thing, right? I mean, we could spend a half an hour discussing it. In fact, you really should go back and watch some of the episodes in Rebels if you want to learn a lot more. But in brief, it allows doors and pathways between time and space. So you can literally view things from the past and from the future. In this case, and this is pretty crazy, in Rebels Season 2, it seems like Ahsoka died at the hands of Vader. Because remember, Rebels is before the original trilogy. So, Vader's around, right? And they're fighting him. And it looks like Ahsoka dies. Then in Season 4 of Rebels, this is crazy, but Ezra sees that scene and literally pulls Ahsoka out of it into the world between worlds. So he pulled her out of Season 2 into the world between worlds when she then shows back up in Season 4. Oh my goodness. If you know me, you know I'm not really a fan of timey-wimey stuff, so this wasn't my favorite concept, but it still was pretty cool. It was cool. But also, it links all moments in time together. So basically, you could see anything. And there was an interesting scene with Palpatine even, where it wasn't real clear when that was happening or what it meant. I don't know if they'll ever fully unpack that. But yeah, it was pretty wild. Once Ezra pulled Ahsoka out, she was able to then come back, right? So who knows what they're going to do with this? Who knows? But yeah, it sure looks like this is either the same place or it's a near-death experience. Because this is wild, and this is what makes it not feel exactly like what we saw in Rebels. She hears a voice. A mysterious voice says, "Hello, Snips." And for anybody who watched Clone Wars, you immediately went, "Oh, Snips, that's the nickname Anakin gave her because, well, she was kind of snippy and insolent." And she didn't like the nickname, but it was pretty funny. So she immediately would know that's Anakin. But this is what's so weird. I didn't expect to see you so soon. I mean, the world between worlds is weird. Let's establish that. But I don't remember it as a place where people necessarily go to meet, where someone would be hanging out, waiting for you to show up. That's why this really doesn't feel like the world between worlds, because Anakin's just hanging out there, waiting for her. Interesting. Very interesting. And then, of course, we get the closer shot of him. And I'll be honest, at first I thought, oh my, that de-aging and that CGI is a little wonky. Reminded me of The Flash. If you saw the Flash movie, man, some of those cameos at the end were woof. But I think this is intentional. I think he's meant to look a little ethereal, a little ghost-like. So we'll see. But nonetheless, then he flashes her that smile. So you think, oh, this is all great, right? Or is it? Is it going to end well? Or is it not? Well, we get a big hint because even as the closed captioning tells us, Vader theme plays. So that is not good. So maybe he's making himself look like the Anakin she would have remembered, but actually he's already turned to the dark side. Maybe, again, this is some weird near-death experience. It's a Force ghost. There's so many possibilities. It's crazy. But what we have seen in general, right, what we have seen with Filoni, he doesn't go for the complex answers. I mean, Marrok was not Starkiller and was not Ezra. So I don't think this is going to be super complicated, whatever it is. But I still don't know. I still don't have a clue. I'm very anxious. I really want episode 5 now, right? So leave down in the comments, what do you think? Where is she? Why is Anakin here? Are his intentions good or bad? So much to talk about. All right, there you go. That's the episode. Just as a reminder, this is the timeline. And, of course, I still don't know when to say Ahsoka's happening, so I'm going to leave it a question mark. But I did mention Tales of the Jedi, right? The final episode is the one on the far right there. And I would recommend watching it. It's a short episode, and it fills the gap for Ahsoka's life between the end of the original trilogy, so right after Revenge of the Sith, right up to her time in Rebels when she appears there. And she has that fight with the Inquisitor. So I might recommend watching that one, even if you don't watch the others. But really, there's 3 episodes with her. You can see the 3 episodes here. So one is of her birth, one is of training with Anakin, and then one finally of when she decided to join up with the Rebels. So I think these are important. Filoni would not have produced these unless he wanted you to see them. So I recommend at least watching those. All right, there you go. Don't forget, we do have the September contest. Be a subscriber, leave a comment, and the winner will be announced in October. And obviously you get the Star Wars Timeline book as a potential prize. And then love to have you join us on Discord. Here we are talking about the Ahsoka episode, actually. And I will leave a pinned comment with a link to the Discord server if you want to join. Also, if you don't mind, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out more content, and we will all eagerly await Ahsoka Episode 5.